In the case of me, I am a faithful. And while you would love to protect Peter, what those two traitors, who you so eloquently said you banished, had in common is both of them were in collusion with your romance friend, Peter.
One thing Phaedra is going to do is she's going to read you for filth. She doesn't care who you are. She is going to read you when it's time. And I don't get why these people continue to undermine Phaedra and still come for her with that mess. The way she read John and Peter, I wanted to hide. I really wanted to hide, but hey there. Thanks for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing The Traitors US, Season 2, Episode 9. So we pick up with Kate and Phaedra because Kate was recruited by Phaedra and she was given an ultimatum. Either you join the traitors or you die. And Kate was setting herself to be a traitor. I think she sussed out that Phaedra was a traitor and was going hard for Phaedra in hopes that if Phaedra needed to recruit someone, she would recruit her. And it makes sense that Phaedra would recruit Kate because then Kate can't suddenly turn on Phaedra because she's been fighting for Phaedra all this time. And if she continues to fight for Phaedra, no one will be any wiser because they'll just assume that this has been her song and she's just continuing to sing the same song. So they then sort of have a debate on who to kill, and it's sort of between Trishelle and Kevin. And you know, Kate is saying Kevin annoys me, and he was annoying people. I think they should have killed Peter, but I think the producers didn't want Peter killed yet, so they decided to offer up somebody else. And it makes sense to kill someone from the core five, you know, the faithfuls, because they would have targeted everybody else and taken each other to the final. So the fact that they killed Bergie last time and now they're killing Kevin makes sense because at breakfast everybody else bar Kevin turns up, so it's evident that, you know, Kevin is the one who's been killed. And you can see Peter's heartbroken. He is heartbroken because he can't understand why only his team of people keep being killed. And it's like, well, because Peter thought he ran the game, and what this has shown him is that he should have been nicer or kinder to the fellow faithfuls, but he decided to be in his faithful team and be the head there and choose who came in and who came out. And so now he's in a place whereby he's in the minority. Yes, he's a faithful, but he's been exposed for the backdoor deals he's been trying to make. And even though Trishelle set him up with the deal with poverty, he is now the one in the crosshairs of everyone because it's been exposed that he was trying to work with poverty. And so I think some of the faithfuls are now questioning whether he is loyal or whether he's actually a traitor. And so it's then exposed that Trishelle had a shield, and it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that Kate kept fighting for Kevin because this was how she was able to sort of know who to kill. And I think Phaedra gave, you know, Kate the power to kill because she wanted her to feel comfortable. She just didn't want her to come in and then start running things the way Dan did, because Dan tried to make it seem like he ran the traitors, and this backfired on him. And so Alan comes in and tells them to get ready because there's going to be another competition. And oh my God, I'm so anxious. As long as they don't vote Phaedra out, I'm okay. It's interesting because you have CT and Phaedra. I think they became close friends on The Traitors. So because they also did like a little Q&A with Bergie, the three of them, and it was cute to see how they were mocking him and stuff. So they are going to have a chat, and Trishelle decides to follow them. I think Trishelle is trying to sort of listen to what they're saying, and they sort of are right to question that Peter, if he thinks people are traitors, why is he making backdoor deals? And why is he working with people that he knows for a fact are traitors? Why? It doesn't make sense. And Trishelle is sort of trying to sort of convince them and sort of, you know, get CT on board and being defiant. And it's like, nah, that's the truth though. Yes, he's not a traitor. We all know he's not a traitor. But the fact that he's trying to work with traitors and he's trying to behave as though he runs the game, this is the reason why he's not going to win. This is what Dan did, and Dan is sitting at home watching Phaedra and everybody else. Anyway, Trishelle then pulls John for a chat. They're still trying to talk. They're trying to get Phaedra out. And somebody on Twitter was saying, why is it Trishelle is only going for people of color? And yeah, that is a realistic question, that why she went after Peppermint for no apparent reason. and then started to make herself the victim and started to cry. And Maxim had to call her out to say, why are you crying? You pushed for Peppermint to go home. You're the reason why Peppermint went home. And she tried to use, her tears to get herself out of trouble. And now she started going hard on Phaedra when she knew that Poverty was a traitor, when they'd been gunning for Poverty, but she decided she wanted to go after Phaedra. I don't know whether Dan gave her a hint that Phaedra is definitely a traitor before he left or whatever, but something happened there, because the way she's gunning for Phaedra makes me question, is she gunning for Phaedra because she got a hint from Dan? Or is it just the fact that, she's on a mission to vote out all people of color and then, make it to the final with her buddies? Because why else would she do that? So Trishelle then goes for a chat with John, and she's having this chat with John about voting out Phaedra. And it's like, why are you gunning so hard for Phaedra? Why is it since Dan left you started gunning hard for Phaedra? Dan also had Poverty in the top 2, and yet you were not convinced that Poverty was a traitor. Even when your friend was convinced that Poverty was a traitor, you still wanted to go for Phaedra. Make it make sense. First it was Peppermint. You fought hard for Peppermint to go home, and then you made yourself the victim when you were called out for making false allegations against someone, and now you're going hard after Phaedra. What is it? What is it? And so for her to then sort of speak to John and then call Peter, and the three of them try to sort of come up with a plan of getting people on board so that they can vote out, Phaedra, it doesn't make sense to me. I know Phaedra's a traitor. I do know she's a traitor. But there are other people with suspicious behaviors. Because if it was anybody else, I think if Phaedra was behaving the way Peter is behaving, she would have turned her head to say what's going on there. But she's decided not to do anything because she's gunning for Phaedra for some apparent reason known to her. If he quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, speaks like a duck, then it is a duck. And sadly, her track record is not doing her any favors. I know on Twitter someone was saying that why does she like, going after people of color? Well, I don't know. I'll leave it at that. This is creepy because they take them to a church and then they have people sort of standing around in robes, and it's in line with Alan. Alan is very dramatic. He's very dramatic, so it makes sense that they would want to make it very dramatic. I think the only other person who's as dramatic on the show at the moment is Phaedra. So it was cute to see. And then they're given this crossbow and are sort of given tinted glasses with names on them to sort of shoot out, and whoever's left standing is the one who wins the shield. And so I think the way they did it, it made sense, because they sort of started, Phaedra was the first one to go up and she tried to go for John, but it didn't work out. And then they realized that instead of moving it around and picking different people's names, whoever we're trying to shoot, one person tries to shoot, we need to stay there until we take them out. And everybody was taken out on the sort of first 2 bottom rows. And you had Sandra suggest that let's go back down because it was easier to shoot those down instead of going up top, and let's take out Trishelle, which is what Phaedra decided to do. And yet you have Trishelle complaining that, oh, Phaedra, everybody was already up there working. Yes, they missed CT 7 times, but she should have stepped up there. Why did she move down? And it's like, but Sandra is the one that made the comment. Why are you coming for Phaedra? What is your problem with Phaedra? I think Trichelle's problem with Phaedra is that Phaedra has become close friends with CT. I think that's her biggest problem. And I think because of that, especially the fact that, Phaedra lit CT's flame and CT didn't light her flame, I think this is one of the other reasons why Trishelle is gunning for Phaedra. I think because she thinks if she takes out Phaedra, then she will be CT's number 1. And so it doesn't make sense to me why, but hey, to each their own. So in the end, you have everybody taken out and CT wins the shield. I think it made sense. Because at the end of the day, as long as the faithful didn't win the shield, that was all everybody wanted. And so none of the faithful won the shield. CT was always going to be safe unless he takes out Phaedra, then he would have an issue, but he was always going to be safe because he's very close friends with Phaedra, and Phaedra seems to really like him, so she's not going to kill him. Kate was upset that, oh, why did Phaedra go for my thingy? I think it made sense. Because had Phaedra saved her, then it would have been a problem, in the sense that then people would start suspecting that why is Phaedra avoiding, why is she avoiding, Kate, because the only three people left were Kate, John, and CT. So she couldn't take out CT because CT is a friend. So she would either have needed to go back to John, and it didn't make sense to go back to John once she had already tried so many times and everyone had failed. So it made sense to me that she went for, Kate, although Kate wasn't happy, but she doesn't need a shield. She's already a traitor, so she doesn't need to worry about being killed off. I don't get why CT needs to be careful, because Phaedra really saved him. I think that if Dan had his way, he would have taken CT out day one before taking out Bananas. And so for him to say, oh, why did, Sandra and Phaedra try and make sure that Trishelle didn't get the shield? Well, you had that other lady from the Big Brother who avoided doing challenges with everyone until she got herself a shield. Why didn't they say she was a traitor until it was the very end and sort of John and her went head to head? So I don't get that. I don't like what CT did there. And you're having Trishelle sort of say, oh, I don't get why Phaedra did this, but people were saying it. And now you want to play victim. You have been gunning for her. Why should she get you a shield when you're gunning for her? Make it make sense. I hope they send Trishelle home. I can't wait for them to send her home. So when they get back to the castle, the faithful are scrambling, really. They don't know what to do, just because they know they are in the minority. They alienated themselves from everyone when they were the five of them, and they decided to shut doors and hold closed door meetings because this is what Peter was telling them. So they start talking about the fact that, they need to get Phaedra out, and they're sort of trying to come up with ways. They don't have the numbers, so they're trying to turn everyone else to sort of align with them. And it's like, it's too late, buddy. You should have continued to be friends with these people, regardless of the fact that you didn't agree with them. So for you to suddenly think that, this is what you're going to do doesn't make sense. So, they decide that Peter's going to distract Phaedra while Trishelle runs to the ladies and tries to have a conversation. And the ladies actually are eavesdropping when Peter's having a conversation with Phaedra. And it's like, it doesn't make sense. Trishelle hasn't really been talking to these ladies or running game with these ladies. Everybody knows she's a faithful. They tried to sort of recruit Sandra because they saw Sandra in the hallway, called her, and she just said, okay, I'll take it on board, and just kept it at that. So then they ran to Sheree, MJ, Sandra, and Kate, and was sort of Trishelle was trying to convince them that, I think Phaedra is a traitor. You all need to believe me. She is definitely a traitor. I know there are people who are always going to follow Phaedra because they are loyal to Phaedra. So I just want you all to be open-minded. And they said to her, okay, fine, we will listen to you. And it's like, it's a bit too late for you to be scrambling, because at the end of the day, if they choose to save you and your little posse, when it comes to the numbers, at the end of the day, you and your little posse could take them out. So they'd rather take you out and stay in the majority, because then they know they will make it to the end. Otherwise, if you, John, and Peter have to choose a fourth member, one of them is out, all of them are out except for one person. So why should they do that to themselves? I don't get it. What the hell? How is Castle Daddy, going against his Castle Mommy? Because CT has a conversation with Trishelle, and he says, the fact that Sandra and Phaedra tried to sort of stop Trishelle from getting a shield, they are traitors. And it's like, that's not justification enough. The reason you're still standing is because of Phaedra, not because she lit your torch, but she fought hard for you against Dan. So the idea that you'd want to turn against her doesn't make sense to me. There's only one more week. She can actually kill you, buddy, if next week, if you don't have the shield. So if I were you, I would save Phaedra and go against the faithful. That's just my opinion. For him to try and reach a deal with Trishelle doesn't make sense, because Trishelle has not been keeping him up to date with whatever the faithful have been deciding. So why should he suddenly work with her when she hasn't worked with him all this time? I don't get it. He has to do what's in his best interest, which is to stay in the game, and the only way he can do that is through Phaedra. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but what people don't realize that is when Phaedra is highly intelligent. Phaedra has got street smarts. Phaedra is a trained lawyer. She can argue a case for days. So the idea and the audacity to step up to her when you don't have your facts right, it's just ludicrous. Because you have John, they're at the round table. John steps up. Yeah, I don't have any evidence, but in my opinion, Phaedra is a traitor and we need to banish her because this is going to change the direction of the game if we do so. Well, I think Phaedra doesn't need to be banished. I think the faithful need to be taught a lesson, and future faithfuls need to be taught a lesson that you do not hold closed door meetings. You do not isolate yourself from other people in a game called Traitors when you're trying to establish trust. And so the read that Phaedra gave John was just immaculate. The fact that she told him that, you don't have to speak eloquently, just get to the point. Why are you protecting Peter? Peter has been having closed door meetings with traitors, and you know this for a fact, and yet you're protecting him. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. And then for Peter to try and sort of chime in, she schooled him. She dog walked him. She read him for filth. The fact that she told him, this is not The Bachelor. I don't have to kiss your ass for a rose. I can be myself and still get through this game without your input. CT wanted to laugh. He covered his face. Everybody else knew what was coming, and they felt the shame, the embarrassment on Peter's face was just like Dan when Phaedra read him for filth and stripped him bare naked in front of everyone, and they saw, the little scared little boy he was. The same thing happened to Peter, and I am here cheering. Oh my God. You can see Phaedra's heart broke when City sort of talked about her, and I don't get why he didn't mention the bit about Sandra, the fact that it was Sandra and Phaedra who were talking about bringing it down back to Trishelle, and the argument was it was easy for them to target the bottom ones than it was the top ones, and even when they went back up to the top they struggled. So for City to say that shows traitor behavior doesn't make sense. For him to betray someone who's been saving him all along, unless the producers decided to turn him so that they could go to a sort of a tiebreaker. That way it was, they were able to leave it on a cliffhanger. So you ended up, when Trishelle talked, it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense because you could tell that she's been gunning for Phaedra since Dan brought up Phaedra. She didn't know Phaedra was a traitor until Dan told her. And now she's making it seem like she's known all along. Anyway, they get to voting, and it's interesting because Peter previously mentioned that, we're going to keep Poverty till the end because we knew she was a traitor, then we would vote her out, or whatever he tried to say, and that sort of rang in Sandra's head. And I think this is why Sandra's decided to keep Phaedra around. So you had Phaedra, Sandra, Cherie and Kate vote for Peter, and then the faithfuls were only able to turn City's head. But I think City is going to go back. I think he's going to go back to where he's been safe, because he's going to realize that Phaedra's really kept him in this game, because she protected him for the shield today, and she also protected him from Dan, I have a feeling, when Dan was killing people right at the start. So I can't wait to see who MJ chooses, but I have a feeling MJ is going to choose Peter. I think people are annoyed at how Peter's played the game. Not that they think he's a traitor, but I think his tactics are the reasons why they're going to banish him, and I can't wait. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 8. Bye guys.